Well, a stunning number of Americans are using buy now, pay later, or BNPL services like Klarna and Affirm and Afterpay. So while BNPLs make it easier to afford expensive purchases, they are also leaving many Americans in overwhelming debt because who could have seen that coming? But the question is, who is to blame? The BNPL services or the irresponsible spenders or the insufficient regulation or our culture of rampant consumerism? More on that later, but first, here is how BNPLs work. So even if a consumer can't buy an item for its full price, they can use a BNPL to pay for it in weekly or monthly installments. They then get access to the item right away thanks to their upfront payment. And when it comes time for the consumer to make a payment, the BNPL will take the money from whatever financial account the user linked. But of course, there is a catch. So though BNPLs advertise interest-free financing, the interest rate on the longer-term plans can go as high as 36%. The BNPLs also charge late fees. So that is kind of like the basics of how they work. And Americans are liking what these services are selling. So according to the New York Times, about half of Americans have used a BNPL at least one time, and half of users are under 33 years old. So BNPL has scaled quickly as an industry, with the total value of purchases ballooning to around $120 billion in 2023 in the United States alone, up from just $2 billion in 2019. So from 2 to 120 billion, and then nearly 2/3 of Coachella concert goers this year used it to
my
their
God.
ticket. I know. So these services usually don't require a certain credit score in order to sign up. All you need is a cell phone number, proof that you're over 18 years old, and a method of payment. This feels almost like those like the housing crisis or something. And BNPLs do not have to operate under the Card Act, which states that credit card applicants under the age of 21 need a cosigner or proof of income. All right, so we already showed you several TikTokers posting about how much money they owe Klarna, but there are also a number of TikTok users that are begging people to just stay away from things like these BNPLs. So here's a few of them.
5 really stupid things that I did that landed me in $50,000 worth of credit card debt. The first incredibly stupid thing I did was use buy now, pay laters. I use buy now, pay laters to pay for everything, and I mean everything. Buy now, pay laters may seem harmless, they may seem innocuous, but in actuality, they are one of the most predatory forms of credit in existence.
Stop buying items on Klarna. Buying items over 3 months means you still pay the same amount of money. Spreading it over 3 months just means that you can't afford it. This is something that I see loads of people doing, and then you get in the cycle. You Klarna something this month, and you Klarna something next month, and then all of a sudden you've got 3 or 4 Klarnas going out at the same time. So essentially you're spending like 200, 300, 400 quid a month on it anyway. The reality of it is, if you can't afford to buy an item twice, maybe even 3 times, then you can't afford to buy it at all.
Life tip for young men, you should never be using Afterpay or Klarna.
So these self-help tips are met with actually a mix of support, but also condemnation. So Alicia Berman, that was the first person that you saw in that compilation, she has warned her TikTok users or viewers that BNPLs accelerated her spiral into debt. She said $50,000 in debt she had. And she told the New York Times, "I'll get backlash just for telling them the truth." Dior Bidiaco, a life coach who focuses on personal finance, also told the New York Times that when she cautioned her viewers to stay away from BNPLs, she got a similar reaction. She said the mindset was like, what do you want us to do? Everything's expensive. So what, we shouldn't have things? You're saying I shouldn't have things? And that's because there is a culture on TikTok, if not on the internet overall, of irresponsible spending. So TikTokers post flip remarks like Afterpay is for the girls. It helps us feel better about our poor financial decisions. And POV, me on the phone to Klarna telling them I couldn't pay all that money back after overspending again. Oh no. Okay, so these big spenders could be in for a very rude awakening because FICO is now stating that BNPL loan history will factor into their credit score calculations. And like a lot of them never realized that. Take a look. Oh wait, no, there's no clip for that. Sorry, but yeah, it is crazy to me. So like, I have never used a BNPL. That's not necessarily a flex. I just am very wary of things. I'm just super skeptical of everything, and a lot of times that does pay off. Maybe in this time, it literally has paid off for me. But it's true. Like, I think the response to it was interesting, because you would think that people would be like, oh, let me not do these things, and like, why would you be mad at somebody for warning you that this could hurt you down the line? But the thing is, people are so inundated with how terrible everything is right now. It's like, just let me have this thing that I should be able to have, right? Americans especially, I think, have this idea of like, we live in the richest country in the world. We should be able to just buy the little things that we want to have. And even if they don't have the money, it's like, who can keep up with what's going on right now? Who can keep up with inflation? Who can keep up with things like wage stagflation or stagnation? You have people who are working at jobs, never getting a raise, or being told, oh, you know what, you're gonna get a promotion, but there's no more money that comes along with this promotion. Crazy things like that are happening. So yeah, people are gonna rebel a little bit. And it's hard to tell them, don't do that. Like, it's another thing that you're telling me that I can't do, I can't have. I can't buy a house, can't buy a car. Now I can't even buy like this thing that I want online. On that note, what's interesting as a millennial is that, we came from consumerist backgrounds, and then I think the millennial generation started to move away from consumerism, right? We started to realize how predatory these corporations were, and it seemed for a moment that Gen Z was going to be the most anti-consumerist nation or generation that we've seen in a long time. That has not proven to be the case because of TikTok Shop and because of things like social media influencers, right? This is the generation that grew up with social media influencers, people telling them, you can trust me, and here's what you need to buy. Here's my lifestyle, and don't you want my lifestyle? And here's the things that I have, and here's where you can also buy these things. Influencer marketing has done a number, not just on Gen Z, but I think that they are very susceptible to it, because they're the ones who grew up with these YouTubers. When I was growing up, YouTubers weren't celebrities. They were just people in their rooms talking to a camera. Hence, this is what I'm doing. But they weren't to the level of celebrity like what we're seeing now with all these big influencers. And they get, it's disingenuous too, because they get sent so much stuff for free, and then they get a commission every time they tell people to go buy this thing from me. Go to the link in my bio and you can buy that. And I'm not trying to like knock their hustle or anything like that, but the result has been, we have this generation that is very mumuch online, very much connected to these influencers, whether it's on YouTube or on smaller social media platforms like Instagram and TikTok. And they're spending so much, and they're contributing so much to things like fast fashion and fast home decor and just things that you don't need. And they're buying all of it, and they're polluting the planet, and they're going into debt over it. And I guess they don't feel bad about it, which is frustrating. What are your thoughts?
I have used Klarna. So I think I started during the pandemic. And what I liked most about it in my mind was it was every 2 weeks they would take the payment. So to me, it was like I was paying for this over the course of each paycheck. So instead of like me paying $550 divided in 3, it's like, oh, I only spent $175 on it. You know what I mean? Like, it was that's what I mostly enjoyed about it, because like I would never have more than 2 Klarnas or Afterpays out at a time. But I did like the idea that I was spacing it out over the course of paychecks. And I only ever did it for clothes. And then Chase stepped in and was like, you can't use our credit card on these Afterpay things. We're not paying your credit with our credit. So once Chase stepped in and I couldn't use my Sapphire card, I was like, nah, I'm good. I've like literally stopped. And I will say, there's been times I had stuff in my cart, and because the thing didn't have Afterpay, I didn't buy it. Straight up. So it's like, I have a different relationship with this. Like, I really liked it, but I would never spend more then between $300 to $500, I like on an item or on one given purchase. Like I might go on my favorite retailer's site, get like a dope jacket, a new pair of pants, a hoodie, and that might come up to like $450. And I'm like, I don't feel like giving them $450 right now. $150 sounds amazing, right? And you still get the damn package to your door. And then when you see the $150 come out in 2 weeks, I'm like, hey man, it's the 16th. I just got paid. It's all good. I could afford a little $150 for these clothes that I haven't even worn yet, probably, and I'm still going to enjoy. But what I would tell the young people is like, if they're charging, first of all, $120 billion, that's all on fees. That's the only service, like that's the only revenue they're getting from this is the fees. And if, Chase or Capital One or whoever is charging you 28%, that's cheaper than 36, guys. So like, just buy it on your regular credit card. Like, if you're gonna default, if you're gonna not pay it all in full on time, just get it on your regular credit card, guys.
Yeah, it's
36% is crazy.
36 is insane, right? Like when I heard that, I was like, who? Like, my God, like that is predatory. Like that is crazy. Yeah. And that's why it reminded me of when they were giving away all these subprime loans to people who they knew couldn't afford it, and then they destroyed the housing market
100%.
And they destroyed people's credit, everything, and it's I do feel for people though, like first of all, I feel validated because I'm like looking around, I'm like, how are people affording all this stuff right now? Like the economy is crazy. And then I always remember that people buy a lot of things on credit, and I don't, so I like forget that people do as much as they do.
I got caught up in that points game too. I've been blessed. I've been blessed to be like, oh, okay, our credit card debt is finished now. Like I'm good. But there was a point where I was chasing that points game, and I looked up at I was like, hold up, this is.
I mean,
insane.
But you don't get points for Klarna though, do you?
No.
Yeah.
You just get to feel like. You just feel like, because think about it, like the thing costs $450. You put $150 down, and it's not like layaway where back in the days they'd hold the item for you, and when you finish paying it, you got the item. No, you pay $150. 3 days later, that thing's at your door.
You get it, yeah.
Like it's tough. I understand the appeal completely.
It's just interesting because like I feel like people have replaced things like hobbies that they would have had with things like online shopping, or because like all we do now as a culture is just scroll on our phones, right? And I don't think that can just be limited to Gen Z or people under 33 or whatever it was, like that's just the culture now, is people be on their phones scrolling, and what do you get? Like half the time you're scrolling is you get ads, right? I took Instagram off of my phone for a long time. I put it back on the other day because I was trying to do something, and I was scrolling, and it was like every 2 or 3 posts was an ad, and I was like, I couldn't believe it. Also, they think that I'm pregnant now, which I'm not, and so all of my ads are for like maternity clothes, and some of it's cute, but I'm like, I can't do anything with this right now,
That's so funny.
So at least like the ads weren't exactly tempting me right now, but Instagram is like, you're at an age like you need to get on it, and I'm like, thanks Instagram, like thanks so much. But it is sad, and like I can't even tell people like get off your phones and get a hobby, because like hobbies are also very expensive. I know I have a lot of hobbies, and they take up a lot of money, and even hobbies though have become so commercialized, and like there's always people trying to capitalize it, because every time you get into a new hobby, it's like, oh, you need this stuff, you need this, and there's always influencers in that hobby space who are saying, oh, you should get all this stuff. Fortunately, what I've been seeing a lot more of lately are de-influencers, specifically for certain hobby groups. They're saying, look, if you're trying to do this, they're gonna tell you need all these things. You don't. Here is the basic of what you need to get started. And that is a lot more accessible for people. And this is the world that we live in, where people are always just trying to sell it at you. You're always gonna get ads for things. That is the way that this country works. it's a way of even being patriotic, is buying things, right? They say buy American, go out and stimulate the economy, do your job as an American. And it's consumerism. They've just built a consumerist society for us. And we as the consumers will have to do our part, I guess, And at the end of the day, even when we have no money, they still don't care. We have to still continue consuming. And thanks to social media and things like TikTok Shop, that they're able to do that. So anyway, we could talk about this a lot more, but we have to wrap because we are over time. Okay, so Waz, thank you so much for joining me. Do you want to tell the people where they can find you?
Man, I've recently taken on a new endeavor with a company called Playmaker. We just recently announced a show called No Fouls Given. I don't think we've announced who my co-hosts are. I don't think it's a secret. It's Danny Green and Paul Pierce, two former NBA players, NBA champions. We're gonna be, tackling the league from that perspective, in terms of our coverage. And so, yeah, I think we launch October 29th, we launched. So check that out if you have even a passing interest in the NBA and want to support my work.
Oh, wow. So this story that we covered tonight was right up your alley for real.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.